And we're back. So we've looked at stepping footwork. Now let's look at using stepping footwork to move to distance. So we'll look at sort of manipulating distance a little bit down the track. But right now we're just going to practice moving. So grab your weapon, whatever it is, and all we're going to do is start at the far side of our training area. We're going to line up with a wall or an object. If you're lucky enough to have like a boxing bag or something, you can use that. But I'm just going to use my wall, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly step until I get to extension distance. And I just want to reach out and touch the wall very gently. You know, if you've got a bit of bend in your sword, or you're doing stuff like this, probably too close. I want to just gently touch with this edge of my sword, with just the tip of my sword. And when I've touched, if I've got if I've done it perfectly, I'm at full extension and just lightly touching, good for me. But let's say for sake of argument that I've come a little bit too close, there's some bend in my sword. I want to adjust just gently until I'm at perfect measure, like I'm at my perfect extension distance, my exact extension distance. Because that's going to, doing those adjustments each time will help you refine and work out where your distance is. In fact, one of the best ways to learn to do anything is to do it and then try and correct your mistakes on the fly. Then just withdraw, come back to your guard, and then just start stepping all the way back to the other side of your training area. So let's practice that just a couple of times. So gently stepping until you think you're in extension distance. Reach out and touch. And you might notice there'll be a point where you're getting close and you just want to sway a little bit to adjust your distance on the fly. I probably do that a bit. That's not cheating, that's adjusting and that's learning, so that's good. So don't feel like you're cheating. Feel like you're learning, and you're also learning to cheat distance a little bit and adjust on the fly, which is really, really important in a sword fight. Back. So let's just do that again. Just taking gentle steps. Focus on getting your footwork proper as well, like doing the proper footwork technique. Don't just kind of stroll up and back. Obviously, if you're using a very different weapon to me, or even you're from a different background, different system, feel free to use the stance from that system. Although particularly for this exercise, try and use the footwork that I'm suggesting, like the stepping footwork. Although the stepping footwork's pretty universal. Like even in sort of firearms combat, they do, there's footwork techniques to step to create a stable firing platform. All right, so now, I don't know about you, but I'm going to get a bit wild. And I'm going to switch up my weapons. I'm going to get my trusty knife, my padded knife. And I'm going to get my microphone thing out of the way. Sorry about that. I'm going to do the same drill, but with a different weapon. And instantly, if you're very new to this and you're not sure of your distance at all, you can actually walk right up close in your stance, and then slowly step back until you're at extension distance, so you can feel where it is. This is kind of something I should have mentioned a minute ago, but this is kind of a good place to start. All right. And the reason I'm doing this with multiple weapons is because this will teach me to judge distance with a lot of different weapons. This will teach me, one, how to apply a skill across weapons, but two, if I'm fencing someone who's got a different weapon to me, then I'll actually know how to judge the distance of their weapon as well, which if someone has a longer weapon than you is really, really important. So, so if you're fencing something like a rapier, which has got like a mind-bogglingly long reach, all you've got is a saber. So long as you don't get blindsided by getting caught in extension distance, you've actually got a pretty good chance of beating them. But you have to make sure that you don't get caught with like a weird distance trap. All right. So now for just one last time, I'm going to switch weapons again. And this time I'm using my trusty épée, which has the advantage of being very thin. So if I fuck this up, it's not going to appear on camera. Another trick I find very useful for gauging distance is you basically draw the sword in your hand and you're basically feeling how long the weapon is. And then, because you can have a rough idea of the length of your arm, hopefully. And then, yeah, just that will give you an idea of the weapon's length. In this case, the weapon being very, very long. So there's very few steps I need to make as we're going. And some of you probably noticed I am leaning a bit, and that is perfectly okay. Like, you know, this isn't me, you know, making a mistake and then trying to hide it through like false humility. I mean, it is that, but it's also just those little leans and little adjustments are actually really important to do, but they're also very important to be aware of, because when you're aware of them, you can control them. All right, so let's do one more approach, just for fun. And jumping back and jumping for joy. All right, so that drill should have taught you roughly what your extension distance is and how to move to it. But before we move on, I'm just gonna grab my earpiece. And are there any questions? I apologize again for the lozenge, but my throat would not agree to do this if I didn't, you know, be sucking down a bunch of soothers. All right, that looks like there's no questions. So I'm just going to pause recording.